December 2nd, 2014, Village of Peoria Heights Board of Trustees meeting. Meeting is now called to order. Would you please rise and join us in the pledge of the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Trustee Harn.
Present.
Trustee Carter. Trustee Fuller.
Present.
Trustee Reichert.
Present.
Trustee Gett.
Present.
Trustee Cumming.
Present.
Thank you. First order of business tonight is the approval of the Board of Trustees minutes for the November 18th meeting. Are there any changes that need to be made to the minutes as submitted?
I move to approve.
I have a motion from Trustee Gett,
Second.
second from Trustee Cumming. All those in favor of approving the Board of Trustees minutes for the November 18th meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Thank you. The ayes have it. Board has approved the minutes for the November 18th meeting as submitted. Next order of business tonight is the approval of the executive session minutes for November 18th as well. All those in favor of approving the executive session minutes as submitted, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Thank you. Ayes have it. Next order of business tonight is a correspondence, and that will be presented by our village clerk, Shauna Musselman.
I have no correspondence this evening.
Okay, thank you. No announcements, so we'll go to trustee reports, and first up will be the ambulance service with Trustee Fuller.
Thank you, Marilyn. I have nothing to report this evening.
All right, thank you. Move to Public Works with Trustee Harn.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I have nothing to report.
Thank you very much. We'll go to Administration Personnel with Trustee Reichert.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Trustee Carter couldn't be here tonight. Mr. Administrator, anything new on the Economic Development Village Improvements front?
Nothing to report, Your Mayor.
All right, thanks. We'll go to the Police Department with Trustee Cumming.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I know a trustee meeting without the Neighborhood Watch announcement is like a day without sunshine, but as it is the last month of the year and we'll all be making quite merry on Monday the 29th, we're going to cancel that Neighborhood Watch and pick up in January, which unfortunately I don't have the January calendar in front of me, but I would like to take this opportunity to thank Deputy Chief Ahart, Detective Brackney, our Neighborhood Watch Captain, Roberta Knowles, and I see Nancy out there as well, and everyone that showed up to be a part of our Neighborhood Watch program this year. Your participation is greatly appreciated, and we're looking forward to expanding the program in 2015. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions at all for Trustee Cumming? Okay, once again, thank you. Move to Building Maintenance with Trustee Gett.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I have nothing to report at this time.
Thank you, and then we'll close out with the Fire Department with Trustee Gett.
Thank you. I have nothing to report at this time.
All right, thanks again. Next up is comments from the audience. I do want to tell everyone that after the comments from the audience, we do not have any old business tonight. Before the new business begins, I'll be asking the board to go into executive session regarding personnel. It's not on the agenda, but we've checked it out. It is legal to do so, and we'll try and make it as quick as possible. But right now, we want to have comments from the audience. Anybody in the audience who has a care or concern, please come up to the lectern, and if you would, give us your name and address and tell us what's on your mind.
Good evening. My name is Greg Walters, 800 East Toledo, Peoria Heights, Fire Chief, Peoria Heights. I'm going to address the issue that we're going to cover later on tonight. Mr. Mayor, members of the Village Board, you have the unenviable task of deciding the fate of the Peoria Heights Ambulance Service here tonight. A service that we, the residents of Peoria Heights, have depended on for well over 40 years. A service that we, the firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics of the Peoria Heights Fire Department have provided to this community for well over 40 years. I can only hope at this point that you have done your research well and have looked at all the options and that you have identified the only true option available to you. I ask you that you please do the right thing, make the right choice, as all the other decisions you have made during your time in office pales, in my opinion, in comparison to the one before you tonight. It's well known that I have been in opposition of this since it first surfaced. That being said, I want to assure you all, regardless of how I feel, regardless of which way the vote swings, the men and women of the Peoria Heights Fire Department will respect your decision. We may not like it or agree with it, but we will comply with it. Regardless of the outcome, we will continue to provide the best service to our community in a swift, efficient, and professional manner. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief. Are there any other comments or concerns?
Alex Scott, speaking on behalf of Pat Weber at 4811 North Ellen Court, touching base on what we're going to talk about tonight, the ambulance. Before we had an ambulance in Peoria Heights, AMT was going to be nearby with a quick response time. Carl Weber lost a close friend because of weather, and AMT was busy on accidents. It only took 20 minutes to get us, 20 minutes. At Peoria Heights Women Crossing, Prospect and Glen was hit by a car and seriously injured. Yes, we had EMTs on the scene, but it was raining, and again, a long response time of 12 minutes. How would you like to lie in the middle of the road of Prospect and Glen with a fire station not far away and not being able to transport? Just laying there. Carl Weber thought that the people of Peoria Heights deserved better. With the help of our fire department, Bob and Charlotte Matthews, Sue Bear. After a lot of fundraisers and a lot of work and dedication, we bought our first used ambulance here in Peoria Heights. EMTs went back to school, became an intermediate squad, and then when Carl Weber became ill, they went back to basics because an AMT person took over. Carl Weber's dream for the people of Peoria Heights to have paramedics, he lived for. He didn't get to see his dream fulfilled, but he's watching. We have the best service we can here in Peoria Heights. So I'm asking, take a second, think about it. Take a look at everything that's been accomplished over the years. These men and women of Peoria Heights Ambulance, the time, the dedication, the service that they took, and make the right decision for the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Any other concerns or questions from the audience? Okay, well, we thank everyone for attending tonight. This time, I'm going to ask the board to make a motion to retire into executive session regarding personnel. Need a motion, please?
I move to move into executive session.
I have a motion from trustee Reichert,
Second.
second from trustee Harn. All those in favor of the board going into executive session at this time regarding personnel, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Thank you, the ayes have it. This is necessary, please understand that, and we will make it as expedient as possible, and we appreciate your patience on it. So this time, the board will now go into executive session and will return immediately thereafter. Trustees meeting is now called back to order. We will now move to new business. And first up is ordinance 2014-1423, an ordinance eliminating the Peoria Heights Ambulance Department. That will be presented by trustee Fuller.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. As everybody is aware, ordinance 2014-1423, it is an ordinance eliminating the Peoria Heights Ambulance Department, and I'd like to make a motion for that at this time.
I have a motion from trustee Fuller,
Second.
second from trustee Cumming. Are there questions or comments from the board before the board votes? I do want to point out a couple things. We do not take this lightly. When I came into office, and it was roughly 10 years ago, we still had a volunteer service, ambulance service. It was brought to my attention by a couple members of the ambulance service, and the CAD sheets were brought to me by Chief Sutton, that we were not showing up for approximately 30 to 40% of these calls, because the world has changed. The third shift worker was gone from Pabst, obviously. Third shift workers were pretty much gone, and we had a difficult time having people able to show up from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. because people work. It was much more difficult to get time off from your employers to come to, your ambulance service than it was back in the 70s, early 80s. So at that time, the board made a decision to pay staff to have the basic life support from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that was good. We had people here on staff, but it was still basic life support. At that time, we proceeded to have a paramedic service, which was a huge step for a community our size. And then to go 24/7, to pay paramedics to staff the village 24/7 was a huge step for us. And like I said, when we had that special meeting, I always will remember Trustee Pendleton at that time stated that she voted against it because she said, I don't believe that we can afford a paid paramedic service. And like I said, as difficult as it is for me to admit that Trustee Pendleton was right, she was right. It came to a point where we haven't seen the growth revenue-wise. The TIF has floundered where the PAPS building is at. The growth we've seen on War Memorial has not really produced the sales tax revenues we were hoping for, and the crazy policies of IDOT along 29 continue, so we've not been able to get any type of commercial growth down there whatsoever. Hate to be long-winded on this, but it has been extremely difficult to come to this point. We put it out to the board, to the citizens to participate in funding the shortfall of the ambulance. It costs approximately $500,000 a year. We were shortfalling $200,000 a year, coming out every year from our general fund. It finally made an impact on us to where we had to make a decision. We asked the public to participate. That the vote came out the way that it did, I'll speak for myself again. I was shocked and surprised by the vote. I thought that $5 a month for the vast majority of us was a bargain to keep a paramedic service in place with Peoria Heights on the side of the truck. So we came to the conclusion that the majority, nearly 60% of the voting public, did not really care to have their taxes increased for any reason, even to keep a paramedic service in Peoria Heights with a Peoria Heights dedicated rig here 24/7. So unfortunately, we've come to this crossroad that board has to decide we can't afford to continue paying $200,000 a year. And the public has, the voting public has made it clear they do not want their taxes raised. So we either say, well, we had an election, we don't like the results, so we're going to ignore it. Or we say, you know what, we keep paying on this, and maybe in 3 or 4 or 5 years, we're broke. It's a rock and a hard place. Clearly, the proverbial rock and a hard place. We're really danged if we do, and we're danged if we don't. And I'm saddened by this. If the vote comes out to do away with it, it's I think, kind of a sad day for the village. But we do appreciate the fact that we do have paramedic service with AMT that will step in, and we will not see a reduction in the service. We won't have a dedicated rig at the village, but we will have rigs normally nearby. So we do appreciate that AMT will be available to step into that role. Apologize again for being long-winded about it. Any other comments from the board before voting?
I'd just like to publicly thank all of the EMTs, paramedics, and first responders that have done an excellent job for the village of Peoria Heights.
Yeah, I agree with Debbie, yeah.
And we'll echo that. They've done an outstanding job of representing Peoria Heights. We want to thank former Fire Chief Norm Reichert, Chief Greg Walters, and particularly we want to thank Chief Sutton for helping to guide the ambulance service through growing pains, and we appreciate all your hard work.
I know Labor Day weekend, I was really thankful for them to be here, so it's a bitter pill for me, so that's all I have to say.
Any other comments from the board?
Well, and I know that, I don't want to echo anything that you've already said, Mayor, because I thought you pretty much summed up the feelings of the board as a whole, that this is something that none of us relishes doing, and that we would rather not be doing tonight. But the cold, hard facts are that we can no longer support the ambulance department that we have with the resources that we have available to us. And while we live in an age where it seems as though federal and state government really doesn't take into account what their constituents want, we as stewards of the village of Peoria Heights have a responsibility to the residents and the voting residents to follow through on what they want. And, the residents have spoken, and they're tax wary, as I think we've all decided. And, so I just want to say that it is a responsible thing to do. It's the right thing to do at this time for the longevity of the village. We understand it's not popular, and it's a decision that we don't want to make because nobody wants to put anybody out of work in Q4, especially as you're getting closer to Christmas. But unfortunately, that's the decision we've been faced with, and, so thank you. We appreciate everything the ambulance department has done, and, we'll go forward from here and see where we land.
Okay, thank you,
I just
Trustee
have
Cumming.
one little thing to say. As a board, we've always supported our ambulance. It's been sort of a project for us. I mean, we've denied it of nothing, we've given them whatever they needed, and that pretty much goes for our police and fire also. We take care of our people. It's really tough. This is really tough. This is by far the hardest thing that I've ever sat here and had to do, and it's a shame that it's came to it, but, when there's no money, you can't just keep supporting it until you're borrowing money to support it, so that's about it.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, once again, this is for board approval regarding ordinance 2014-1423. It's an ordinance eliminating the Peoria Heights Ambulance Department. And an aye vote would, in essence, eliminate the Peoria Heights Ambulance Department. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Trustee Harn?
Aye.
Trustee Fuller?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Trustee Gett?
Aye.
Trustee Cumming?
I with regret.
Okay, thank you. By a vote of 5-0, the board has approved ordinance 2014-1423 as outlined by Trustee Fuller. And once again, we are sorry it came to this, but we thank all who have participated throughout the years. Your dedication is highly valued. Our next order of new business tonight is a motion for approval of the EMT severance agreements, and that will be presented by Trustee Fuller.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I think we just have two of these, so I'll make a motion to approve the two separation agreements that you have in the packages, and that you have in your packets.
Okay. Have a motion from Trustee Fuller,
Second.
second from Trustee Gett. Are there any questions or comments from the board before the board votes? Okay, once again, this is for board approval of the EMT severance agreements. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Trustee Harn?
Aye.
Trustee Fuller?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Trustee Gett?
Aye.
Trustee Cumming?
Aye.
Thank you. By a vote of 5-0, the board has approved the EMT severance agreements as submitted by Trustee Fuller. Next order of new business tonight is ordinance 2014-1424. It's an ordinance authorizing an agreement between the Village of Peoria Heights and Advanced Medical Transport. That will be presented by Trustee Fuller.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I don't know how much detail we need to get into this right now, but this is a contract or an ordinance authorizing us to enter an agreement with AMT to provide our, medical services. So I make a motion for ordinance 2014-1424.
I have a motion from trustee Fuller,
Second.
second from trustee Reichert. Any questions or comments from the board before the board votes? Okay, once again, this is for board approval of ordinance 2014-1424, an ordinance authorizing an agreement between the Village of Peoria Heights and Advanced Medical Transport of Central Illinois pertaining to the provision of emergency transportation within the village and the transfer of various emergency equipment by the village. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Trustee Harn.
Aye.
Trustee Fuller.
Aye.
Trustee Reichert.
Just call- Okay, aye.
Okay. Trustee Gett.
Aye.
Trustee Cumming.
Aye. Okay, thank you. By a vote of 5-0, the board has approved ordinance 2014-1424 as presented by trustee Fuller. Next up is ordinance 2014-1419 regarding the adoption of the 2014 through 2015 levy, and that will be presented by trustee Reichert.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance levying taxes for all corporate purposes for the Village of Peoria Heights, Peoria County, Illinois, for the fiscal year commencing the first day of May 2014 and ending on the 30th day of April 2015. I think there's somebody here from the library that could say a few words about the funds for the library.
Hi, I'm Sean Edwards, Director of the Peoria Heights Public Library. I haven't met most of you before, but Matt and Bart, I know. We just want to thank you for your continued support at the library. I don't have a lot to say about the funding for it. We don't have any major crises or anything right now. We have some issues in the future, possibly. We have a roof that occasionally leaks. We have some issues like that that we may have to deal with, parking lot that may need resurfaced down the line. But in general, all our funding is stable. Everything seems to be working out for the most part. In general, we're doing well. And I just want to thank you for your continued support. If you have time next week, we have a Christmas holiday open house. We're just serving cookies and things, but if you'd like to see what we're doing at the library these days, we're making a little progress, changing things around. A few things are new. So come by, stop by, see us. But I won't take up any more time. You've got more pressing matters to deal with, but stop by and see us sometime. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance 2014-1419.
Have a motion from trustee Reichert,
Second.
second from trustee Cumming. Any questions or comments from the board before the board votes? Okay, once again, this is for approval of ordinance 2014-1419, the adoption of the 2014 through 2015 levy. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Trustee Harn.
Aye.
Trustee Fuller.
Aye.
Trustee Reichert.
Aye.
Trustee Gett.
Aye.
Trustee Cumming.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. By a vote of 5-0, the board has approved ordinance 2014-1419 as presented by trustee Reichert. Next up is a motion to approve a donation to the Snack Pack Fund for the Peoria Heights program, which is hoping to put together some backpacks for the kids over the holidays with food items, as so many kids do, honestly, sometimes go hungry in the Peoria Heights district. And this was to be presented by trustee Carter, who could not be here tonight. And I'm asking the board to make a motion to approve a donation of $500 to the Snack Pack Fund.
I so move.
Have a motion from trustee Gett,
Second.
second from trustee Cumming. Any questions or comments from the board before the board votes? Okay, once again, this is for board approval of a $500 donation to the Peoria Heights Snack Pack Program. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Trustee Harn.
Aye.
Trustee Fuller?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Trustee Gett?
Aye.
Trustee Cumming?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. By a vote of 5-0, the board has approved the $500 donation to the snack pack program. Next up is ordinance 2014-1420, and that will be presented by trustee Reichert.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I'm going to let Administrator Fick talk about this TIF ordinance.
Thank you, Trustee Reichert. Yeah, as we discussed in committee, the village is contemplating the establishment of one new TIF and the enlargement of an existing TIF. This is a proposal from a consultant to basically help the village put together their plan that needs to be submitted, go about the process of identifying the TIF boundaries, et cetera, like that. So this and the following ordinance 1421, essentially the same. They both outline the terms of the contract with the consultant.
Thank you. I would make a motion that we approve ordinance 2014-1420 to approve and authorize the execution of professional services for the establishment of the TIF District 1.
We have a motion from trustee Reichert,
Second.
second from trustee Gett. Any questions or comments from the board before the board votes? Okay, once again, this is for board approval of ordinance 2014-1420, as outlined by trustee Reichert and Administrator Fick. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Trustee Harn?
Aye.
Trustee Fuller?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Trustee Gett?
Aye.
Trustee Cumming?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. By a vote of 5-0, the board has approved ordinance 2014-1420. Next up is for board approval of ordinance 2014-1421, and I will again put this over to trustee Reichert.
Thank you, Mayor. This 2014-1421 is the same as 1420, except for this is for TIF District 2. So I would make a motion that we approve 2014-1421.
Have a motion from trustee Reichert,
Second.
second from trustee Gett. Any questions or comments from the board before the board votes? Okay, once again, this is for board approval of ordinance 2014-1421, as outlined by trustee Reichert and Administrator Fick. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Trustee Harn?
Aye.
Trustee Fuller?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Trustee Gett?
Aye.
Trustee Cumming?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. By a vote of 5-0, the board has approved ordinance 2014-1421. Next order of new business tonight is ordinance 2014-1422. That will be presented by trustee Reichert.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance to establish a new urban-based enterprise zone and approving related intergovernmental agreement. And this enterprise zone sort of walks hand